So, today, with some great material from Nexford University, we're diving into a really fascinating idea. And that idea is, what if art was actually humanity's very first language?
Yeah, we're going to look at how early humans used images, objects, you name it, to share some pretty complex stuff way, way before anyone had thought of writing anything down. So here's our plan. We'll start with art before words, then see how the world changed art itself. We'll even learn a 3-part code to decode it. And then we're going to turn that code on ourselves and see what our own stuff says about us.
All right, let's jump in. We're going to head way back in time. I'm talking before alphabets, before sentences, to really get at the original purpose of art.
Okay, so the first thing you really have to get your head around is this. For our earliest ancestors, art wasn't just decoration. It wasn't just about making things pretty. No, it had a serious job to do.
I mean, it was an incredibly powerful tool. Think about it. Through a simple carving or a painting on a cave wall, you could share your entire worldview. You could define who your community was, express your deepest spiritual beliefs. It was kind of like their social media, their history textbook, and their sacred scripture, all rolled into one.
And there's a word for these things, right? We call them artifacts. And an artifact isn't just some old object. It's so much more. It's a piece of a story, a physical clue left behind that tells us about a culture's ideas and values, all made by human hands.
Seriously, try to picture this. You're deep inside a dark cave. The only light you have is from a flickering torch, and the walls all around you are just covered in these incredible, powerful images. And this isn't some made-up scenario. It's exactly what happened to 3 explorers back in 1994 when they stumbled upon the Chauvet Cave in France.
And what's just mind-blowing is how sophisticated this art is. We're talking 30,000 years old. These weren't just doodles. The artists actually prepped the stone walls, smoothed them out like a canvas. They used techniques we think of as modern, like shadowing and perspective, to make these animals feel like they could leap right off the wall. And it's all animals. Probably not what was for dinner, but something much more, spiritual.
Okay, so things are moving along, but then a massive shift happens in human society, and it's going to completely change the art game. You can really see the difference here. On one hand, you've got the Paleolithic, the Old Stone Age. People were nomadic, they were always on the move. So naturally, their art had to be portable. Small carvings, things you could carry. Or it was tucked away in these hidden special caves. But then, boom, the Neolithic revolution hits. We figure out farming, we start to settle down, and suddenly, for the very first time, we could create art that's big, permanent, and out there for everyone to see.
And that stability? It was a total game changer. I mean, when you're not spending every waking moment just trying to find your next meal, you have something new. Time. Time to play around with new materials, to get really good at your craft, and even to work together on these huge, long-term projects like Stonehenge. There's just no way something like that could exist in a nomadic world.
Okay, so if we're saying art is a language, how do we actually read it? Well, it turns out there's a sort of secret code, a 3-part framework that lets us unlock the meaning of pretty much any artifact from any culture anywhere in the world.
Here they are, the 3 big forces. First up, symbolic systems. Basically, what do all these shapes and colors actually mean to the people who made them? Second, you've got aesthetic conventions. Think of these as the unwritten style guides. What did that culture think looked good or right? And finally, social function. Plain and simple. What was this thing for? What was its job?
And this is really important. Understanding this art isn't about trying to guess what the artist was feeling on a particular Tuesday. It's not a psychic reading. It's way more like being a detective. You take your 3 clues, the symbols, the style, the function, and you piece together the story of how this object actually worked, how it created meaning for an entire community.
All right, that's the theory. But how does this work in the real world? Let's get practical and actually try to use this code on something.
So, let's take an African mask, for example. Instead of just looking at it and going, wow, that looks cool, we can now ask our 3 questions. First, symbolism. What do these specific patterns mean? Do they represent spirits or ancestors? Second, aesthetics. Why is it so abstract instead of realistic? What does that style tell us? And third, function. Was this actually worn? Was it part of a ceremony? See, answering those questions is how you get to its real story.
And this right here is probably the biggest takeaway of all. You just can't understand an artifact in a vacuum. Its meaning is completely tied to its context, where and how it was used. Think about it. A mask sitting behind glass in a museum is one thing, but that same mask, used in a ritual, might have been seen as a channel to the gods. Context is everything.
All right, let's bring this right into the present day, because this isn't just about dusty old objects in a museum. This is about you and me right now.
Just take a look around you. Your room, your desk, whatever space you're in. Every single thing you've chosen to put there, a poster, a souvenir, a photo, is a modern-day artifact. Each one is a little piece of evidence about what you care about, what you've done, who you are.
So, here's a question for you to chew on. Imagine an archaeologist 1,000 years from now digging up your stuff. What story would your artifacts tell them? What are the objects that tell the story of you?
Because in the end, that's what it all comes down to, right? From those incredible paintings in the Chauvet Cave, all the way to the pictures you have on your phone right now, art is this amazing, timeless, universal language. It's how we tell our own stories and how we try to make sense of this wild, complicated, beautiful world.